What if we told you you could actually get better at rolling dice?
Because there's a chance you can, and we can show you how.
I'm Max.
And I'm Ben.
And this is D&D Ideas.
Sometimes we talk about Dungeons and Dragons in these videos.
Sometimes in these videos we talk about Dungeons and Dragons in life.
Either way, it's always about ideas and Dungeons and Dragons.
So if you're in the mood for something a little different and wouldn't mind adding a little magic and fun to your day, you made it.
Dungeons and Dragons is, at the end of the day, a game that comes down to the dice.
Got the best internet-approved build with the most optimized spell selection?
Thanks, Colby.
Cool! None of that matters if you roll like shit.
That brilliant strategy of yours with all those amazing tactics you looked at on the Dungeon Dudes, and your amazing plan for how to do the thing you want to do, dice can and will derail them all.
As Custom Auto, Mike Tyson's trainer, has now famously said,
What the f***? Hasn't anyone ever told you it's rude to sneak up on a unicorn in its grove while it's enjoying its favorite podcast? Come to think of it, what business do you have with I, Saint Gumdrop Lollipop Snuggly Face Tiny Pants? What? Yes, of course I have every right to use that title. I simply submitted the appropriate number of topics to ignorant and uninformed, and one day, a totally legit and valid certificate of sainthood magically appeared in my grove. Now be gone! Jeff was just starting to talk about how much he loves Omega!
everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Or to keep it in the genre Robert Jordan, the best plans last until the first arrow leaves the bow.
Exactly, because who's firing that arrow and what they rolled when they did changes everything.
Was it a nat 20? Did they critically hit and one-shot your DM's favorite bad guy? Shout out Gord, so sorry Dumbbell.
Or was it a 1? Did they accidentally shoot their buddy in the back and is that person now making death saves?
Same person, same plan, same action. Radically different results. All because of the dice.
Given the all-powerful role of the dice in Dungeons & Dragons, Ben and I thought it might be fun to focus on them.
Not only focus, but actually do our best to help you roll better.
Oh no, you heard that right.
Now, before you puke in your mouth a little bit, roll your eyes, or click off to another video because you think we're just full of shit, hey, slow your roll.
All we're asking for is an open mind and maybe like 20 minutes of your life in order to add more 20s to your life.
First off, let's look at the truth. Most people who play D&D are at least a little superstitious. I know we at Peak D&D sure are.
Oh, I mean, I think you could. Lord knows I don't want to, but you could go back through all of our gameplay videos and find evidence of this.
Please do, and hit that thumbs up button on your way through. Nick fires his dice all the time for rolling crappily.
I've seen you incarcerate dice before too.
Oh yeah, the dice jail is real. Ask any one of my D20s, they'll tell you.
Dice jails are a cottage industry. There are people who manufacture and sell little plastic cells to put your dice in when they misbehave. That's how pervasive dice jail is.
It doesn't stop there. Max and I used to play with this guy who, if his dice were acting up, would drop them in his beer.
Dice waterboarding? Dice jail? You people are monsters. There is research out there proving the inefficacy of prisons and torture.
Okay, here we go. Some more of Max's bleeding heart hippie bullshit.
Hey man, I don't get on you for all the bad habits your dice learn while in jail. You do your thing.
It's the dice jail system, man.
I believe in rehabilitation, giving my dice the nurture and support they need to succeed through positive reinforcement.
What does that even mean?
It means I arrange all my dice so they show their highest numbers. 6s on 6, 12s on 12s, 20s on 20.
And that works for you?
Sometimes.
Moving on, Tony has Helm dice, a special set of dice that he uses when he'd like a little divine intervention from Helm.
We've both been on the receiving end of one of Tony's "Get your dice right with Helms."
All of this to point out, there's a reasonable chance most people watching this have their own dice practices.
which indicates on some level, regardless of how teensy-weensy and unconscious, we think what we do with our dice matters and can affect how they roll.
And it's here with this belief that we'll take our discussion in a more scientific direction.
Starting with what Dave McRaney, in his book You Are Now Less Dumb, calls one of the strongest anomalies of the mind. Placebos.
The placebo effect is real. Our minds and what we believe have the ability to affect our bodies.
The placebo effect is so real and powerful, medical science has to carefully design its studies and trials to account for and eliminate placebos as best they can.
Medicines are said to work only if they produce results above and beyond what the placebos do.
In a strange way, you could say your mind's ability to influence results specifically in the body is the metric medical science is built around.
Unfortunately, to my knowledge, we don't have a great understanding of why placebos work, only that they do.
And like so many things, the efficacy of placebos ranges widely. Some folks, for some reasons, are more affected than others.
Leaving this little quirk of our mind and its ability to affect the physical world, it's now time for some time traveling.
The year is 1927. Alcohol is illegal in the United States and has been for a handful of years.
Crazy to think about.
Right, and there's this newfangled music that all the kids are listening to. It's called jazz.
The devil's music. Women are wearing dresses and skirts with sequins and tassels above the knee.
Above the knee, I guess they're going crazy from that newly won right to vote 7 years earlier. Must have gone to their heads.
And a man named J.B. Rhine steps off of a train in Durham, North Carolina to study under his hero, William McDougall, at Duke University.
There, Rhine and his wife conduct a series of experiments which become fodder for a book that would go on to make them a household name in the decade to come.
They became so famous and well respected for these experiments that people would write them asking for their advice and help.
And not just regular people like me and Ben,
Fanboys.
but internationally well-known and respected people like, I don't know, Einstein.
But more than the paragon of science and reason we're writing. It's companies, it's governments, it's the Rockefeller Foundation, it's the CIA.
And what was Rhine studying at Duke? What made him so famous the mythic exemplar of science wanted his help? Psionics.
Rhine designed and conducted experiments to test extrasensory perception, telepathy, precognition, and clairvoyance.
Wild, right? Also true.
Before getting to Duke, Rhine made a name for himself by applying the scientific method to mediums out there and exposing them in the newspapers.
A famous case in the Boston area put him on the map, as it were.
Having rolled a high enough DC to dispel this type of magic, he traveled south to continue applying scientific experimentation and analysis to the weird and unexplained.
His research and findings comprise a good chunk of Carl Jung's book, Synchronicity. That's where I encountered them.
Now, in one experiment, Rhine used a deck of cards, a Zener deck, and had 2 college kids placed in different rooms.
All right. Tell me what you think it is.
One of them would have the deck, draw a card, and attempt to communicate what they drew to the student in the other room.
Circle. Close. Spot definitely wrong.
The person there would then write down what they thought the card was.
It is a star. Very good. That's great.
The results? Here's Jung's words.
Incredible.
One constant experience in all these experiments is the fact that the number of hits scored tends to sink after the first attempt.
Just a couple of wavy lines.
Sorry. This isn't your lucky day.
I know.
And the results then become negative. But if for some inner or outer reason there is a freshening of interest on the subject's part, the score rises again. Lack of interest and boredom are negative factors. Enthusiasm, positive expectation, hope, and belief in the possibility of ESP make for good results and seem to be the real conditions which determine whether there are going to be any results at all.
In considering these remarkable results, we must take into account a fact discovered by Rhine.
What are you trying to prove here anyway?
I'm studying the effect of negative reinforcement on ESP ability.
Namely, that in each series of experiments, the first attempts yielded a better result than the latter ones. The falling off in the number of hits scored was connected with the mood of the subject. An initial mood of faith and optimism made for good results.
Incredible.
Skepticism and resistance have the opposite effect.
The effect? I'll tell you what the effect is! It's pissing me off!
That is, they create an unfavorable disposition.
It's the kind of resentment that your ability is going to provoke in some people.
Now, Rhine was a meticulous note-taker and statistician. Question his findings and observations all you want. The man's process was thorough.
As Jung said, an initial mood of faith and optimism made for good results. Hope, belief in the possibility, and enthusiasm did too.
What Rhine found and Jung mentioned track with me in my anecdotal evidence.
Oh, yeah, dude, no doubt. The better I feel, the better I roll. Is that always the case? No, of course not. Is it generally the case? Yeah.
If I feel like shit when I come in and sit down at the table, odds are I'm gonna roll like shit.
Tell us if this hits home with you. Think about the most money you've ever won gambling. What sort of mood were you in when you stepped onto the casino floor?
It was good, right? I'm guessing you felt like $1 million before you won $1 million.
That's how it's been for me. And also, I'd be happy to tell you about all the money I've lost when I felt like garbage.
Yup.
So we've got anecdotal evidence supporting the Rhine results, which those results could be 100% placebo effect and 100% are confirmation bias. Now what?
Well, Max, now we're going to take all this mishmash of ideas and turn it into something people can use to try to take over the world.
The same thing we do every night. Rhine noticed his experiments, which involved the random chance of drawing a card and someone guessing it, worked better under certain conditions.
These conditions were the emotional states of expectation, faith, optimism, hope, belief, and enthusiasm.
If being better at rolling dice is our goal, that means the best thing we can do is recreate those conditions in ourselves.
Hope, faith, optimism, excitement, these are all words used to describe the thoughts and sensations of being in a positive, high-energy emotional state.
One way to get yourself into that high-energy, positive emotional state is to regularly exercise, eat well, get enough sleep, stay hydrated.
Blah, blah, blah. Diet, meditation, exercise. Yeah, we know. Everyone knows. I just never do it.
There are a million of people saying all of these things on a million different channels because they work.
But since you've heard all that before, Max and I are going to take a different direction.
We here at Peak D&D believe in adding more magic and fun to life and the world, which is why we're going to teach you how to cast some spells.
Oh yeah, all you'll need is the blood of a virgin, a crystal wand, the heart of a bat, a newborn infant,
Don't listen to
burnt
him.
ember.
Don't listen to him. You don't need any of that crap. The only components you'll need for our spells are a phone and something to write with.
Nah, you're no fun.
Welcome to Max and Ben's School of Spellcasting. Today you'll learn 2 spells, a handy first level spell called Unimaginably, Gratitude, and a 3rd level spell called Aw Mary.
Gratitude is a super easy spell to cast, barely an inconvenience. That's why it's up first.
To cast it, take out your phone, open up your voice memo app, press record, and start listing all the things you're grateful for.
I'm grateful for my wife. I'm grateful for my son. I'm grateful for this studio. I'm grateful for my job. I'm grateful for my truck. I'm grateful for my family.
You can go as big or as small as you like.
I'm grateful for the 4 hours of sleep I got last night. I'm grateful I had enough money to put gas in the truck. I'm grateful for that gigantic poop I had after breakfast.
Go on for as long as you like, for as many things as you could think of.
Now, my favorite time to cast this spell is in my truck on the way to work or if I'm stuck in traffic.
Gratitude is also a spell that you can cast at higher levels also.
Today, I drove safely to the studio. I had a lot of fun filming with Max. We did really well in this video. I got home early, I was in a great mood, and I spent a wonderful evening with my family.
Use a 2nd level spell slot like Ben just did, and after you finish talking about what you're grateful for, talk about exactly how you want your day to go.
In the future, I lived a great life. Ryan became an awesome adult. Debbie and I had more fun the older we got. Peak D&D became an epic level channel, was of service, and helped a lot of people.
That's what happens when you use a third level slot. After you've spoken about what you're grateful for and how you want your day to go, talk about what you want for your future.
If you're going to cast gratitude at a higher level than first, do yourself a favor and speak about your day and your future in the past tense.
Nifty thing about this spell, it can also be a collaborative one. By that I mean, if you think there's someone in your life who would be into it, start a gratitude spell practice.
Record your memo and send it to them. Have them record one and send it back to you. Listen to each other's and send a text, yes-anding something they said.
While pretty much all the research is conclusive that a regular gratitude practice lowers anxiety, increases mood, increases optimism, this first level spell of gratitude we taught you might not do it for you.
There are a handful of studies proving that for some people, simply saying what you're grateful for isn't enough to do the trick.
Lucky for you, Ben and I have another spell that might.
Aw, Mary is a third level spell. It's a little more involved and it takes a little more time, hence the higher level.
Researchers who conducted one of the studies finding that gratitude wasn't enough for some discovered something that was.
The mental subtraction of positive results. They had their participants create a counterfactual world where the good things in their life weren't there.
In other words, It's a Wonderful Life to the people in their study.
They took people back through their life and had them imagine what it would be like without something or someone they loved in it.
In the movie, Clarence takes George on a counterfactual trip to see what Bedford Falls would be like without him. Spoilers, it's shittier.
Please! I want to live again! I want to live again!
Yeah, casting Aw Mary means either talking into your phone or making it a writing exercise if that is more your speed. Max will demonstrate.
My life would be a lot shittier if it weren't for my parents. I mean, hell, I wouldn't even be here if it weren't for them.
My favorite way to cast this spell is to pick something I love, go back in time, and think about all the little random things that had to happen in order for it to be a part of my life in the first place.
If either of my parents didn't go to school at Miami, and if they didn't live off campus that senior year in that one apartment building, then they wouldn't have lived across the way from each other.
And if it's a person or people you're using as the focus of this spell, try taking it back even further than that.
Well, yeah, if my dad's parents hadn't been in school together and then gotten together and decided to get married and have kids, and if my granddad didn't come back from Australia after World War II, then
When you start thinking about how much worse your life would be without something you really care about in it, or all the little things that had to go exactly right for you to even be here now, it can put you in a place of both gratitude and awe.
Murray.
Aw, Mary. We covered a lot of ground today, from dice jails to psionic experiments to some spells that you can cast to attempt to improve your mood, and therefore, potentially, your dice rolls.
In the name of transparency, the Rhine Experiments have not been successfully replicated.
And as replication is another benchmark of the scientific method, we wanted to make sure to include that disclaimer.
Along with shoutouts to Dave McRaney, Carl Jung, JB Ryan, Gala Darling, Jeffrey Mock, Daniel Pink, Ozen Borel, Stephen Kotler, Ryan George, and all the researchers and scientists and participants involved in the studies.
Thanks, homies, I guess. And hey, thank you for hanging out with us today.
Did we pique your interest?
Hopefully we added a little magic and fun to your day and your D&D.
Hey, if you like what we do, in the words of our buddy Luke, let the algorithm know we don't suck. Drop a comment.
If there's a topic you'd like us to cover in one of these videos, cast sending.
Our email address lurks beneath in the underdog.
If this is the kind of thing that jams your jelly, hit that subscribe button for your buddies at Peak D&D.
To everyone who does and has, thank you. We are closer to leveling up because of you.
Don't forget to dispel that glyph of warding around your notification bell. We'd hate for you to get skipped and miss your turn on our next video.
Peak D&D, Dungeons & Dragons, Wednesdays, Saturdays.
Until next time, keep on climbing until you reach your peak.
It sound right, boy.